John Howard, the legend, John Howard, Master Olympian, Ironman, set the land speed world record on a bicycle at the Utah Salt Flats. One of the greatest athletes of all time. Has been taking Phoenix Nutritionals products for over 23 years. This video is about his new book, The Black Cyclone. Incredible. I haven't had time to get through the whole thing yet. I've skimmed around a little bit. It's a book about the world's first African American athlete, basically, Major Taylor. Incredible story, perseverance, overcoming. I suggest you go get it. I'll put a link in the description. I'll put a picture up too, so you can see it. John Howard is an inspiration in himself. This book he wrote about this guy, incredible book about an inspiration. I've known John Howard, met him. Dr. Whiting has known him for a really long time, and it's just he's an incredible guy. He helped me when I was having. I've been skateboarding for a really long time, and he helped me understand the reason I was getting cramps in my calves and my chest and my shoulders. We broke it down that I was drinking too much water, and he straightened me out on what electrolytes are and what it does. And lo and behold, I followed what he said, and no more cramps. I was drinking too much water. Imagine that. I was drinking too much water, and he straightened me out on it and told me how to fix myself. Definitely go pick up his new book. It's called The Black Cyclone. I think it's already a #1 book on Amazon. He's been taking our products, Phoenix Nutritionals products, for the 23 years we've been around. How did you first meet him?
It was interesting. I was consulting for a network company, and somehow or another they had contracted with him to be a spokesperson. And so then, obviously, being a high-level athlete, he was interested in performance.
Yeah.
And he also knows and knew then that nutrition was the key to performance.
Yeah.
And so we started to work together, and he began taking the formulas that I developed and so forth. And a couple of times over must be 30 years now that I've known John, a couple of times he suffered some injuries, some training injuries. He took a bicycle accident, and he was getting ready to train for a major cycling race in Europe. And so he called me up and he said, I've got this injury and this one, and I've torn this, I've scraped that. And he said, you got to get me fixed so I can get back in training. And I've only got 4 weeks to get recovered. And the doctor said it's going to be at least 8 to 10.
Wow.
So we put him on very large doses of organic trace minerals.
Yeah.
And that helped to accelerate the healing from the strains and sprains and everything else he managed to acquire. And bottom line was, he was back training in 4 weeks.
And so many athletes have found our products, through him and used the minerals. Explain a little bit about what those minerals do.
Well, they are bioelectrical in nature, and every cell of your body is a bioelectrical organism. And so when you nourish the electrical circuitry of the body, everything accelerates. Healing accelerates, recovery accelerates, immune system improves, a whole host of things begin to change because you're actually feeding the electrical circuitry of the body. What most people fail to realize is that your body is an electrical machine. It generates 1.5 volts of electricity 24 hours a day.
And that's because your heart does that.
Your heart uses that. Your nervous system uses that electricity. But the electricity comes from the interaction of trace elements across a fluid.
Okay. That's just incredible. We're going to try to have him on an upcoming podcast, hopefully.
Yeah, that would be good. And then he can really go in more detail about his book too.
Yeah, and he can go into more detail about, how Phoenix Nutritionals products has really impacted him and all that, and maybe go.
Well, he insists when he takes on a student, he insists that they take the product.
Yeah. I think that's a testament right there to it.
So, because he knows what it's done for him. What is John now? 75, 76, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's not racing and competing anymore, but he's very active. He's teaching. He's got multiple students. He travels. He's written a new book. He still cycles for the fun of it. And he attributes it to lifelong of proper training and good nutrition.
Just incredible. Yeah, check out his new book if you get a chance. I'll put a link down below in the description. Definitely go get that book and subscribe, because we're more than likely going to have him on an upcoming podcast, probably a video too. Well, we've had him in the past multiple times, and he's just an incredible inspiration, and we just want to tell him that we really appreciate him and being such an inspiration to all athletes, really. And this new book kind of highlights, the kind of work that he does. Amazing athletes is what other amazing athletes are surrounded by usually. Right. So let's move on. To energy drinks. We've made videos on energy drinks back whenever in the beginning. Gosh, you made energy drink. You made an energy drink back in 2007 that went viral.
I think that's the one that got me in all that trouble. It was exciting.
Yeah, it was very exciting. How do energy drinks affect our nervous system?
Well, virtually all energy drinks are relying on caffeine.
Yeah.
Because it's the only stimulant that can be legally used.
Yeah.
And so we know that caffeine affects a wide variety of systems within the body, one of which is the central nervous system. It tends to overstimulate it, overactivate it. And so the end result of that is that people get hyper, they can't sit still. You can see people that are wired on caffeine. You just have to go buy one of these super expensive
coffee
stores,
places, yeah.
And you see them sitting out there, and they start by sitting out there like this, and by the time the third cup comes, they're like this. They're bug-eyed, and their little feet are going. I have a good friend who's sucking down those energy drinks all day long, and after about mid-afternoon, his legs are going like this, and his head is going like this, and it really affects the central nervous system because it's just simply overstimulation.
Some people can't even have it because it makes them so jittery.
So jittery, right? Some people are very hypersensitive, and there are people who are even allergic to caffeine.
Yeah, and there's some people who it just makes them a better person too.
Yeah,
it's just because everybody's
different. Everybody's system is different. But if you're already kind of hyper, I wouldn't recommend ingesting a whole lot of caffeine. And the problem with these energy drinks is each time a company comes out with one, their competition comes out with a bigger, better, bolder, stronger one.
Yeah.
And so they jack up the caffeine a little bit more, and this stuff's rocket fuel now. You can't sit still.
Yeah, well, that whole Panera Bread thing too is just crazy with that. That's just so sad. How does caffeine affect nutrient levels in the body? Does it affect that?
You bet it does. Caffeine is a diuretic.
Okay.
And that
So
means
isn't vitamin C a diuretic
yes, but caffeine is a diuretic with no benefit.
too? Okay.
So there are no nutrients in caffeine, but it's a diuretic. So it's flushing water-soluble nutrients out of the body with increased urination. One group of water-soluble nutrients that is particularly sensitive to diuretics are the B-complex vitamins.
So then that kind of leads me to, what do you think about the people that add, because now they're coming out with energy drinks that add B complex, or that say, we have B complexes in them, we have other nutrients in them that you take with all that caffeine. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, that sort of, it sort of defeats the purpose. If you're taking something that has all these nutrients added, but you're also ingesting something that's going to rapidly eliminate them, what's the point?
So they just go right out.
Eventually, they're just going to go right back out again.
What are the symptoms of B complex depletion?
Well, there are numerous, but of course, B complex are known to be the central nervous system supporters.
Yeah.
So anything that affects your central nervous system, nervousness, irritability, difficulty sleeping, difficulty staying asleep, all of those types of things are going to become more prevalent with B complex depletion.
And is that the only vitamin that gets depleted, or there's
Vitamin C gets depleted. Any water-soluble nutrient, many minerals, magnesium can be depleted quite regularly with caffeine ingestion. So it's not just the vitamins.
Yeah. Is it true that people with type 2 diabetes and hypoglycemia should avoid these energy drinks?
Well, because they have blood sugar fluctuation problems due to irregular insulin production, we often find that caffeine makes this condition worse. In other words, it tends to drive blood sugar down in lots of people that have diabetes or hypoglycemia, which means now their symptoms of jitteriness and irritability and lightheadedness and dizziness are likely to get worse.
And why is that? Is it because there's sugar, or?
Well, caffeine, again, caffeine is a diuretic. And so if there's glucose in the blood, it's going to take some of that out.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
It's going to lower blood sugar. And if you're not diabetic, then it's not as critical. If you're not hypoglycemic, it's not as critical. But if you have these pre-existing conditions, which also can affect your blood sugar levels in relation to insulin, it can make the situation even more extreme.
What's the alternative?
Herbal teas, water with fresh juice squeezed into it,
a good
like
full spectrum liquid vitamin.
Yeah, obviously you want to make sure you keep your nutrients up, and that's especially important if you're a caffeineaholic, because it's going to accelerate the depletion of key nutrients. So you want to make sure you're ingesting them. But there's so many other things to drink. You don't really need to rely on caffeinated beverages, unless, of course, you choose to.
Yeah, but if you're taking a full spectrum vitamin that has all the B complex, that has the pantothenic acid, that has the stress nutrients that help replenish what has been whittled down to almost nothing from caffeine or something like that, then you're going to have natural energy that's going to be lasting rather than the big up and down spikes of caffeine.
That's right, because caffeine is a non-nutritive stimulant, and when you take your supplements, you want to take them at a different time from the caffeine ingestion.
God, okay.
For obvious reasons. The good thing is that the effects of caffeine are very short-lived. They're usually, if you drink a cup of coffee or have one of these energy drinks, usually the effect of that caffeine ingestion, an hour and a half, depending on your metabolism, and then it's pretty much out of your system again.
If you're in good health.
Well, yeah, that always helps.
Yeah.
But so if you want to take your supplements, take them at a different time. So in other words, if you're a caffeine person in the morning for breakfast, take your supplement at noon.
Or take it an hour later, or 2
take
hours
it an
later.
hour or two later.
Ketosis, ketosis, and ketones. This is what I've been wanting to do a video about these three things forever. So let's start with the first one that's most misunderstood. What is ketosis? No, sorry. What is ketoacidosis? See, I'm getting confused.
Well, ketoacidosis is a medical condition that is caused by excessive amounts of ketone bodies produced in the body. This almost exclusively occurs only in people with type 2 or type 1 diabetes.
Type 1 is the main one.
It's the main one because their body is not producing any insulin at all.
Got it.
And what happens in a case with ketoacidosis is that no matter how many carbohydrates they consume, they're still producing ketone bodies, which is a very strange anomaly. But it occurs primarily in diabetics, and it can be very, very life-threatening. Fortunately, it's not easy to get into ketoacidosis. It doesn't happen like at the drop of a hat or anything. It takes a while to get into that condition, even if you are diabetic.
Ketoacidosis, does it take days, hours, minutes?
Well, it's different for different people, but it usually builds over time.
Okay.
See, what it is a state of hyperacidity in the body. It's where the blood becomes acidic because of too many ketone bodies that are not being flushed out properly.
How do you prevent it?
Well, you prevent it by controlling insulin and blood sugar to begin with.
So controlling your diet.
Diet, nutrients, in some cases medication, depending on how severe the problem is.
Okay. Then what is ketosis?
Ketosis is a state of being in ketone body production. So in other words,
ketosis has nothing to do with ketoacidosis.
Well, only indirectly. Ketoacidosis is the ultimate dangerous extreme.
Okay.
Ketosis is a state where your body is basically burning fat for fuel instead of sugar.
Okay.
So
ketosis is what, because when I lost 60 pounds, I learned that I was carbohydrate intolerant. So I learned that I need to eat less carbs, and I started doing the 20 carbs less, or 20 carbs max a day. Mm-hmm. And at times I made it into ketosis.
Yes. And that's simply a sign that your body is burning fat for fuel instead of sugar or carbohydrates.
Okay.
And when it's controlled in a healthy person, it is not only safe, but it actually is beneficial. A state of mild ketosis is very, very healthy for the human body.
Yeah, and you've somewhat of an expert in ketosis because of your 50 years in the weight loss field. Do you know any other, like, who benefits more from ketosis? Carb intolerant people or calorie sensitive people?
Oh, hands down, carbohydrate intolerance. Because what happens is...
That's when the weight loss starts to happen.
When we say a person is carbohydrate intolerant, what it basically means is that when you consume sugar-forming foods, which are all carbohydrates except fiber.
Okay.
When you consume those foods, the body breaks them down. It converts them to simple sugar called glycogen, which is blood sugar, and glucose, which is blood sugar. And the response to that is excess insulin production. Insulin then converts the stored glycogen to triglycerides and deposits them in the fat cell. And so people who are carbohydrate intolerant can gain an enormous amount of weight, seemingly without end. So you see these people that are 300, 400, 500 pounds, I guarantee you they are insulin resistant and carbohydrate intolerant, because you can't physically eat that much food to gain that much weight. Even if you ate for a living, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, that you see that on those shows about helping people lose weight and stuff. So I've actually seen that out there. The final one, what are ketones?
Ketones are the chemical bodies that are produced as a byproduct of burning fat for fuel.
Okay.
So if you're burning fat for fuel, we say you're in ketosis.
Got it.
Okay. When you're in ketosis, your body is producing
ketones.
Ketone bodies. That's right. And the ketone bodies pass out primarily via the urine.
Okay.
But you can detect.
But somehow the ketones help you burn fat?
Well, they're a byproduct of fat burning.
Okay.
They're the result of fat burning. They don't help you. They're the result of the body's chemistry burning fat for fuel. And you can detect it. You can certainly measure it in the urine. You can measure it in the saliva. You can measure it. You can detect it
with
on the
pH
breath.
test or something.
No, with a ketone test strip, and you can buy them in any drugstore. And we oftentimes recommend that for our weight loss people. If they're on a lower carbohydrate diet, we often recommend them getting ketone strips so that we can make sure that A, they're in ketosis, and B, they're not too high or too low.
Okay. Then what are your thoughts on the ketone supplements, the ketone drinks? They have some drinks out there and products that claim to give you ketones.
Well, and they do. But we have a process. We have a chemical process going on called ketosis.
Yeah.
The byproduct of that are ketones.
Got it.
So when you're consuming these drinks and various other concoctions that supposedly provide ketones, what you're doing is you're increasing the byproduct of ketosis. You're not necessarily increasing the ketosis process.
You're not by taking a supplement or a drink with ketones in it, you're not necessarily, that's all of a sudden going to put you into ketosis.
Yeah, it's likely not.
So what, is there any benefit to that?
There have been some small benefits noted in people taking it.
Like what?
Well, it seems to, at least for the short term, help with weight loss and a few other things.
Really?
But it's not going to, it's not the magic bullet by any means.
Okay.
And basically...
So you still got to be working on it. You still got to be working on it.
You still got to watch your diet. You still got to watch your carbohydrate intake. And since ketones are basically the byproduct of ketosis, you might want to say in a way they're waste products of ketosis. So by taking a waste product supplement, there's only a small amount of benefits you're going to get from it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys got it. Ketoacidosis, ketosis, and ketones. A lot of misinformation out there. I hope that cleared it all up for you. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you soon.